What's going on, everyone? Talen here, and welcome to another Marvel Future Fight video. Alright, so in this one here, we're going to be taking a look at Professor X again. I wanted to kind of revisit him and kind of try him out with a CTP of Rage and a CTP of Judgment, but I wanted to make sure that my stats were a little bit better for the CTP of Rage so I could get a more fair evaluation of what the CTP of Rage looks like on Professor X here. So we are still on the APK, or the pre-update version of the game, so standard disclaimer, this video is brought to you by Netmarble and the Star Agents program, and also everything you see here can still be subject to change from now until the live version. So let's go ahead and take a look at Professor X. I haven't really changed too much else around with him, except for his Urus. So I now have some crit rate and dodge Uru on him to try to get those stats up for the CTP of Rage here. If we go ahead and take a look at the details, you can see we are pretty much capped on crit rate now. Our dodge isn't quite to cap. We could still get like another 20% on it, but it is significantly better than before, so we should be getting a lot better result from the CTP of Rage this time, and we are going to be using Kitty Pryde's leadership, so that will actually cap out our crit rate. So our crit rate will be capped because she gives you an extra 6%, so we don't have to worry about the crit rate anymore. So it's just the dodge that's going to be hindering us a little bit. So if we go over here, the reason I was buffing that up for this particular comparison, if we take a look at the CTP of Judgment here, is it does not rely on crit rate or dodge in terms of the damage that you can get from it. So just to have a more accurate comparison between the damage of the two, I want the CTP of Rage as close to maxed out as possible for the kind of damage buff that we're getting from it, so I can, give it a fair showing against the CTP of Judgment here. So yeah, that's what we're looking at today. So hopefully we'll get some good numbers here, because I've only tested out the CTP of Rage before starting this recording to kind of see what to expect, but I have not equipped the CTP of Judgment because I'm getting really low on crystals and I don't want to keep swapping them around because it took a little while to actually get one of these CTPs of Judgment. So yeah, let's go ahead and hop on over to World Boss Ultimate here so we can get an idea of what we're looking like. We'll start off with Cole Obsidian here, and like I said, we're using Kitty Pryde's leadership for that extra 6% crit rate. Then we have Coulson in there as well. It gives us some guaranteed crit, which is pretty good, but I don't think that affects the calculation for a CTP of Rage, or at least I don't remember if they ended up telling us or if someone tested it out, so sorry about that if it is known, but I don't remember, or don't remember if it affects it at all. So let's go ahead and hop in here. So we'll switch on over to Professor X right away, and I did the 1 minute test again with this. So it's just how much damage can I do in 1 minute. So there we go, and I do let the 5th skill play all the way out. I do not like to cancel the 5th skill because, as you can see, the damage at the end of the 5th skill is actually quite significant. So we go right here and then boom, we get that extra damage, but of course you get all of the effects and stuff like that from the 5th skill, even if you cancel it, because you still have that ring on the ground there and it still does some residual damage. But that's just kind of what I'm doing, and I am just kind of spamming through the skills because that's usually how you would play the Rage anyway. So here we go, so if we line up again. And again, I have done this test quite a few times before starting this recording, so I do know what to look for here, or I know it would be a bad or a good run compared to my previous ones. So here we go. That going, got that going, got that going. Oh, he knocked us out there, so this will be hopefully the last one. And that is pretty average. I see him get into the 11th bar. The best run I've had with him, I've gotten to the 10th bar, or just the start of the 10th bar. So that is kind of what to expect there with a CTP, or with this particular build and the CTP of Rage. So yeah, that's pretty close to what I was seeing there. Maybe a little bit less in terms of the damage. And then he just does so much damage to Ebony that it's really hard to do a good test against Ebony, but I want to put Ebony in here just to get an idea, because Cole Obsidian does have a little bit more elemental like resistances, but it seems like since they changed like the striker stuff, or changed their when they changed the world bosses back from having that tolerance effect, it seems like it affected Cole Obsidian's resistances, but yeah, because elemental does more damage against him now than it used to. So let's just get a quick look here at Ebony. For Ebony, I just want to do the 4-5 combo, and I just want to see how much damage that does with that playing through. We get down to almost the start of the 11th bar, which is what I see pretty much every time, as long as I proc or activate towards the start of the 5th skill. So yeah, that looks pretty average to me. So those are the two values that we're going to expect for the CTP of Rage. So now let's equip that CTP of Judgment and see how it compares. Alright, so now we have the CTP of Judgment equipped. We're loading back into Coal Obsidian here. Same stage, same team. We're going to do it for a minute straight again. I did do a few quick tests before starting up this part of the recording just to see, you know, kind of a good average of what to expect for the damage here from the CTP of Judgment. So let's go ahead and show you a minute's worth of damage. Kind of the same strategy here. We're just going to be spamming the skills because, again, this is another activation CTP. So, oh, we did get time frozen. Hopefully that doesn't affect us too much here. So let's just keep going. But you can already see right away that the damage is looking a bit lighter than the CTP of Rage, which, I mean, I kind of expected that. The CTP of Rage is just unmatched in terms of its DPS, but we want to see if the CTP of Judgment can at least hold its own here, so it could be a, you know, good option if you don't have a CTP of Rage, because I think the CTP of Judgment is still going to be better than a CTP of, like, Energy or a CTP of Destruction on Professor X here. So let's just keep going, get a little bit more damage in here. Let's go, get that, and one last 5th skill. Are we gonna have any kind of activation here? Yep. The time freeze costs us just a little bit of time because I generally see him just getting into the start of the 12th bar when I was doing my earlier kind of test with him. So that is, that's like almost like my best run with the CTP of Rage. That would be a 2-bar difference because we got into, no, actually no, just a bar and a bit because we got into the start of the 10th bar. Yeah, so 2-bar difference. So we got into the start of the 10th bar where he was just getting to the start of the 12th bar. So yeah, 2-bar difference at the best, a bar and a half for an average kind of difference between the two. So yeah, for the CTP of Rage against Coal Obsidian in particular here, it's about a 30% damage difference or around that area. So the CTP of Rage is performing quite a bit better than a CTP of Judgment here against Coal Obsidian. I still think the CTP of Judgment is performing a bit better than a CTP of Energy. I've already forgotten what I was doing with the CTP of Energy. I should probably double check that. I may just throw that in really quick at the end of the video, but right now we're going to keep doing the CTP of Judgment. So that's kind of what to expect there. So yeah, so far CTP of Rage 1, CTP of Judgment 0 in terms of working against Coal Obsidian. But now let's go against Ebony here, the guy that is susceptible to mind or elemental damage in general, and see if the CTP of Judgment is going to work better here than the CTP of Rage. And again, I have done a few runs here, so I do know what to expect. So let's just pop in. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to do the 4th skill, cancel right into the 5th skill, hopefully get our activation at the start of the 5th skill, and that's the damage that we're looking at for the test here. So let's see what we got. Switch on over. Let him do his teleport. Then I'm going to pop in and... Okay, the activation was really late there, so this is not really going to be a good showing, but you could see that it is still less than the CTP of Rage there. But let's see if we can get it more closer to the start of the 5th skill to get a little bit better idea, because that was less than what I was seeing on average. So let's try to get a little bit closer to my average that I saw before. So one more attempt here, and then we'll see where he stands, or see where these two CTPs stand for Professor X. Alright, come on, Ebony. Come on, activate. Still a little bit slow, but let's see if we get a little bit better here. No, we do need that activation to start pretty early, because on my other test runs, I was actually getting into the 12th bar. So despite how much we have left there on the 13th bar, I was actually getting into the 12th bar before with the CTP of Judgment here when it was activating at the start of the 5th skill, or when it initially activated from just that kind of slight couple of hits at the start of the 4th skill. So if we look at the CTP of Rage, that is about 80% of a bar difference, so not even a full bar's worth of damage difference, so it's closer to like 10% or 15, like 10 to 15% more damage with the CTP of Rage against Ebony here. So the CTP of Rage is actually edging itself out in front of the CTP of Judgment, which, like I said, I kind of expected that. The kind of defense down is just better than elemental resists down, apparently. Oh, here we go. This should get us into the... There we go. Oh, that was more than the other runs I saw, actually. But as you can see there, if you get it at the very start, you do get a bit more damage. So that brings it a lot closer to the CTP of Rage, because on my test runs, I didn't actually get it to be this much. I was usually getting about 20% into the 12th bar here. This time we got about halfway into the 12th bar, where the CTP of Rage on average was just getting to like 80% of the way into the 12th bar. So yeah, they're pretty similar actually in damage against Ebony here, with a maybe now closer to 5% up to 15% difference depending on your activations. But that was just a quick activation here. So if I want to take the best of the Rage and the best of the Judgment in terms of activation, I'm only seeing about a 5, maybe 6% damage difference. So it's pretty negligible against Ebony here, but against Cole, you're definitely better off with a Rage if you can, you know, if you do have one of those laying around. If you have like a Rage and a Judgment, say in your inventory, of course the Rage is going to be better, but Professor X here can still use a regular damage proc Obelisk with like mind damage or like a CTP of Energy quite well, just because you can time his skills and actually not have much of an issue in terms of keeping your damage proc on rotation. So you might be better off using that CTP of Rage or CTP of Judgment on characters that are more spam friendly with their skills and do not have good skill rotations to kind of keep damage procs in line. But that's just my opinion here for Professor X in terms of his skill set and what the obelisks, or what the CTPs, excuse me, look like on him. All right, let me go ahead and interrupt myself here in the middle of my outro. I did go ahead and equip a CTP of Energy on Professor X here because I wanted to remind myself the damage with that CTP. And it turns out he does extremely well with the CTP of Energy, even compared to the CTP of Rage. So I just wanted to throw that in here. So let's go ahead and do a minute's worth of damage, and you'll see that the CTP of Energy comes very close to the CTP of Rage and does better than the CTP of Judgment if we can get these procs to actually go off at the correct time. The only difference is you're not going to be able to spam your skills as much, so there's a little bit more kind of running around and avoiding attacks, which can be a little scary for Professor X here because he is kind of a glass cannon, so he can definitely die very easily if you're not careful. So let's get going here. So we are missing a good portion of the chain hit accumulation here in damage because we keep having the proc go a good couple of seconds into the 5th skill. So see, we're not quite getting it right at the start, but look where we are. We're already at 12 bars and we still have one more proc to go. So here we are, and 1 minute, we get into the 11th bar. So that is on par with the CTP of Rage. CTP of Rage, like I said, my average was getting about halfway to a little more than halfway through the 11th bar, with my best on the CTP of Rage being just starting or a little bit into the 10th bar. So the CTP of Energy is performing better than a CTP of Judgment, and it's performing very close to a CTP of Rage in terms of the current stats that I had for the CTP of Rage: max crit rate and 55% dodge. And now we switch over to Ebony here. All right, so we will see here that the trend does continue with Ebony and the CTP of Energy being very powerful on Professor X here. So let's go ahead and switch over. Do our 4-5, and here we go, and boom, what is that? Into the 11th bar. And at the best, because I did this multiple times when the CTP of Energy procced at the very start at the 5th skill, so I got really lucky and had a proc very early on the 5th skill, I actually got into the 10th bar. So he's doing better with the CTP of Energy against Ebony here than both the CTP of Rage and Judgment. So yeah, it's looking like a CTP of Energy is probably going to be the best bet for Professor X here. I just wanted to throw that in. I mean, you can take it as is. You know the build that I had, you know the stats I had for the CTPs of Rage, you know the stats I contributed to that, you know what my stats were for the CTP of Judgment, and you know the stats for the CTP of Energy here, which was a 180 proc. And yeah, you can kind of decide for yourself which is going to be best, but in my opinion it looks like the CTP of Energy. So now back to the old me, and I will continue my outro. So yeah, let me know if if you think this was a good comparison, if you think I did something wrong here, that maybe it's not a good fair comparison the way I did it, but I tried, like I said, to beef up my stats as much as I could for the CTP of Rage to get it as close to max as possible. We were only missing 20% dodge. That was the only extra stuff I could get to make it a little bit stronger, and even with not having both the crit rate and the dodge maxed out, the CTP of Rage was still outperforming my CTP of Judgment, and my CTP of Judgment did have the minus 30% and 200% damage increase. The only thing that could have been better on it is the chain hit damage, of course. The chain hit damage was quite a low roll, so I don't know if that's going to make a significant difference to get that extra, what am I saying, like 10% or something on the chain hit damage, so that could be the only difference here. But anyway, that's just my quick comparison. Hopefully you find that you guys found this useful. Like I said, let me know in the comments below, and yeah, that'll be it for this video here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and of course I will catch you in the next one.